Hi. So recently I finished my time with Dragon Age Veilguard. Yeah. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Dragon Age series, and I gave this one its due diligence. I put 90 hours into it, and I have to talk about this. BioWare is in an absolute state of turmoil right now from what we know. The director has left or fired, I don't know. The financials for the game have actually come out now, so we know that the game is not only a financial failure for them, but the studio is in big trouble. Look, if you're new here and you love all things RPGs, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, consider leaving a like at the least and a sub at the most. Thank you so much. Let's go. It was just revealed that Dragon Age the Veilguard missed the company's expectations by nearly 50%. To put it in layman's terms, this essentially means that everything is going down in terms of financing for the company. This is why many people are now more worried than ever about what comes next from BioWare, namely the next Mass Effect. Andrew Wilson, who is the top dog and 007 James Bond supervillain of gaming, went out to say that they still believe in their long-term strategy, blah blah blah. However, lowering their expectations and budget means that best case scenario, they would lower expectations or revenue for the next Mass Effect project. Needless to say, this is a huge hit to the company in terms of what IP they lean on most heavily. So who is to blame for this? Is it the fans? Is it the devs? Is it the corporation above everyone and everything? Or is it a mix of a little bit of everything? Well, let's get into that. I have been playing video games my entire life, and as I get older, I start to gravitate towards games that I grew up on. And I think that it's safe to say that nostalgia is a big factor in enjoying any sort of media. This is why things like remakes, reimaginings, remasters, and so on sell so well. It's why we see player numbers skyrocket when we are reminded of things that we love, regardless of how bad the nostalgia bait is, with shows like Netflix's The Witcher as a good example of bad nostalgia bait, and a great example of good nostalgia bait with Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Both The Witcher and Cyberpunk numbers shot up dramatically because people wanted to return to the thing that they loved after either being disappointed or excited to return to the world that has been advertised via other media forms. This issue, however, comes from studios slapping the name of an established IP on something completely foreign and unrecognizable that you do have nostalgia for, and telling you that it's still the same thing that you've always loved, the thing that inspired you to like other IPs, the thing that holds a special place in your heart and memories. And when you look at it and state firmly, this is like nothing that I've loved, and I'm the one that should know. I'm the one that's been consuming this for years and years. Dragon Age the Veilguard is a perfect example of this. So let's talk about how to kill a franchise. Dragon Age has always had somewhat of an identity crisis when it comes to certain aesthetics, continuity, and sometimes tonal shifts, but nothing has been more dramatic with its identity from what I have seen in Dragon Age Veilguard. While playing this game, I have never felt so frustrated while playing, just in terms of the completely out of place tone. It's almost as if the studio was allowed so much creative freedom that they used this game as a vehicle to push social or political views and use the narrative and characters as their avatars with personal hardship, regardless of the medieval fantasy setting. Aside from the combat, which I felt was incredible, the music was beautiful, the art style holds up pretty well. At times I loved the combat, listening to the music, and then immediately being frustrated and completely taken out of the experience. Now, before anyone runs away with any ideas about where I'm coming from, let me be very clear. My frustration comes from a place of passion. I grew up with Dragon Age. I loved all of the games for different reasons, and I've never tried so hard to love something like I did with Dragon Age the Veilguard. It has no idea what it wants to be, who it wants to be, and who it's trying to sell to. While keeping the name Dragon Age on the title, it is far from a medieval fantasy game with any sort of respect for what has come before. And I would ask and beg BioWare to please go make this same exact game everything about it the same, with the narrative, all the characters, all of the tonal shifts, the combat, the music, everything about it. Make it the same way and take away the Dragon Age title, and then come back to me and tell me how well it's sold. The games industry is in such disarray right now because creative freedom is being thrown around by good faith alone from sales from massive IP instead of making something brand new and allowing them to do whatever they want. So what we get now is all of our favorite IPs being turned into something completely unrecognizable because they know that it holds weight and it's already established. Most of the work is already done for them. They don't have to explain this world to you. They don't have to explain the past events. You were there, you played them, you loved them, etc. And now we're gonna force you to love this. Again, I put around 90 hours into my playthrough of Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and I mean it when I say it with no hyperbole, it was rough. I'm sitting here looking at the graphics, the bloom effect, the sound effects coming from a fireplace, about to have a conversation with a companion, and they sound like they are straight out of 2025. The modern day speech and dialect are so incredibly out of place, it screams, if you don't like this, then just don't play it. Rather than leaning into what made it special, you alienate the entire fan base. Whenever there is an uproar, you get called all kinds of names and terrible things and treated as if you don't know any better. Being respectful to an IP isn't about rising to the top and becoming so popular that you feel like you can get away with anything, effectively killing your franchise. It's about leaning into what made it special, continuing that trend and bringing fresh ideas to the narratives, new characters, evolving the combat, and so on. I can't tell you how many times I was playing Dragon Age the Veilguard and consistently just felt like I had to completely turn off the idea that I was actually playing a Dragon Age game just to get any sort of enjoyment out of it. Now, I have seen a lot of people say that this is a great game, but it's not a Dragon Age game. I would argue that there are a lot of elements in it that make it a great game, but it is not meant for that particular audience. Which brings me back to the same issue over and over. Stop putting the title of something on a completely different product just because you know it will sell. Imagine going to your favorite coffee shop and getting the same latte that you have always had every day for the past 10 years, and one day you order the same latte and something tastes different. So you go to the barista and you say, hey, something's a little bit different here. And they say, well, yeah, we got new flavors, new coffee, and new people that work here. We also have new management, a new CEO, and a quality assurance team that made changes to pretty much everything. While the latte that you ordered might have the same name, it tastes different, it smells different, it looks different, and it even makes you feel different. But they are telling you you are going to buy that latte because it's what you're used to and it has the same name on it. And then whenever you tell them that it tastes different, it looks different, it smells different, you are the one that's wrong. The term that the customer is right has dramatically changed over the past few years, from the customer is always right to the customer is only right when it fits our narrative. Otherwise, the customer is wrong in the minority and doesn't represent the majority of people who will buy your product. Well, sales numbers would definitely suggest that Dragon Age the Veilguard is a complete financial failure. For me, this was just a classic tale of if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's probably a freaking duck! When the world saw the companion trailer for Dragon Age the Veilguard, there was a groan heard around the globe, and so many people, including myself, were giving it the benefit of the doubt, thinking that, well, this is just a bad first impression. The art looks strange, the tone is completely off, and it came off as more of a Fortnite or a mobile game advertisement rather than a Dragon Age game. Well, it turned out to be a duck. And a lot of people, much less naive than myself, knew this. They didn't buy it, and they weren't $70 poorer for it. In short, treat your IP with respect, lean into what made it popular before, and don't treat the people who are paying you like idiots who don't understand anything or have any real criticism to give. After beating the main story of Dragon Age the Veilguard, I wasn't even upset. I was just angry, confused, and baffled that this game was the game I waited 10 years for. That this is the narrative that was allowed to be pushed, that these are the tonal changes that they thought would be a success. doing things like killing main characters, sidelining established characters, putting completely unlikable characters at the forefront, telling you how you should feel, telling you how you should think, when all you're trying to do is escape from all of that real world nonsense and just play a good video game that makes you feel good. It seems like everything has a very similar aesthetic in terms of chasing a trend, but we know in the video game industry, chasing trends is a very dangerous game to play, as from the time of development, 4 to 5 years later, that trend is dead or is heavily disliked and trending downwards. And as the industry also trends downwards in terms of things like mobile games, live services, games like Concord getting shut down, The Last of Us Factions, and now a ton of other games recently being shut down, it's not only a loss of identity with franchises, it's a loss of identity with studios, huge executives with multi-million-dollar salaries wanting more and more and more, regardless of who takes the fall or what studio gets shut down or what franchise gets destroyed. It's all about the money. Dragon Age: The Veilguard is a clear-cut example of mismanagement, creative freedom, misuse, and political agendas being pushed where they don't belong, where they don't even need to be. And I will say it forever, but if this is the way Dragon Age is going forward, that road leads to a brick wall with nothing on the other side. Alright, back to being silly and stupid. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, let me know by commenting down below. I really appreciate you guys. You guys know I'm a happy-going guy. I love video games, and whenever something deserves criticism, I really try to give it a fair shot. This game franchise is something that is near and dear to my heart. I really wanted to give my opinions on this game because I feel like this is the first time in so many years where I felt so passionate about something on the negative side and the positive side. I really gave it my best, and things are changing so dramatically in the industry, and so here we are. What are you gonna do? And don't forget to leave a like at the least and a sub at the most, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.